coming back. Now you see how it feels when you're down on your knees and your soul is turning too. Now you know how it feels when you're down on your knees and your heart is bleeding. Now so strong. So strong.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Welcome back to the Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. I am glad we are playing AC/DC coming back from break because I don't know if it was our one of the members of the band hired somebody to kill, hired a hitman down in Australia. That being said, if you want to call in to talk about hiring a hitman, the number is 585-633-7487. This is the Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. I'm back here with Johnny Maloris of WindyCityStars.com. Johnny, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, fantastic, man. I mean, if you want some scouting reports on some bounty hunters, I go pretty deep, man. I can go Boba Fett on you if you want. I got Boba Fett. We got Dog. We got a lot of bounty hunters out there, so feel free to call in.
Yeah, you know, Boba Fett, one of the best helmets ever made for a person.
Yeah, no, I heard that Jerry Jones was planning on getting new helmets like that for the Cowboys.
Yeah, well, and you look at, okay, would you take Boba Fett's helmet or would you take the face mask type thing from the guy from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Shredder?
Dude,
Yeah,
how
Shredder.
could you not know Shredder's name offhand? How is that a hard name to remember? Shredder, bro.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was Shredder who was the bad guy or Splinter. I get those two confused from time to time.
You know, every time I talk to you, I'm like more and more disappointed sometimes, man. Just the music choices and now Ninja Turtle history. Come on,
music choices. Are you kidding me? AC/DC. What's the problem with that?
Oh, I love AC/DC. You're lucky. You're lucky you led with that. Otherwise, you leave in some Carly Jepsen or Jessica Simpson or something like that, man. I don't know. You're weird.
Yeah, I have issues.
That's okay. You're my kind of weird, though, man. We're all weird. If you can acknowledge the fact that you're weird, then you're really weird.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, in general, as a human being.
Yeah, I'm going to need to check into some kind of rehab for my weirdness at some point.
No. Fly air free flag, sir.
Well, okay. Major League Baseball.
Oh, we're talking baseball. Yes.
Yeah. I kind of forgot to. I kind of spaced off there for a second. Looking at the hire of Joe Madden, do you think that this was, everybody was talking about what a scumbag move this was by the Cubs, firing Renteria, scumbag move by Joe Madden. How did you feel about it?
Hey, when you got a guy like Joe Madden available, you need to take that opportunity. This is the perfect guy, perfect timing for them, at least in terms of, knowing the way that he's going to be able to deflect a lot of the attention, a lot of the tough questions as they, go through the process now of slowly bringing guys up. It seems like there's going to be a floodgate, of players coming up, but they are going to do it smart. They are going to work their way through with the arbitration clock. I know one guy that everybody's really excited about is Chris Bryant. And now, here's the one thing I think there's a major misconception. This is something that I think, Joe's going to be able to handle, excellent, perfectly here as a manager, is all the pressure of bringing these prospects up and knowing, pretty much everybody, feels that, having the number one, minor league system, depending on, who you go by, a lot of these players are really highly touted. And now here, listen, out of about 10 prospects, you're going to be lucky if you get 3 that hit. You know what I mean? In terms of, you figure, okay, maybe one all-star, one starting player, one, regular like bench and role player, you figure right there, that's a win, getting 3 out of the 10. So you kind of figure you're going to miss on 7 of these guys. But, that's, him being able to be there to deal with the pressure, not only to help them along, and hopefully, hell, maybe hit 3, 4, 5 of these guys. Because right now they have a bunch of guys coming up through the systems. They play a variety of positions, and I think that's what's going to be, another advantage to having Joe Madden, making the lineup card, is that, last year he made a lineup card 8-6-7-5-3-0-9 with the 0 representing the DH spot, okay? This guy changes his lineup regularly, and he'll make a joke out of it. Almost it irritates some people, and that might be one of the knocks on him. But, knowing that he has all these players, like basically he has a minor league system full of Ben Zobrist, in his mind, in terms of, these players being, able to play multiple positions, just in order to try to get them up and to find a spot for them that was either, plugged by another player or by a big contract. And they pretty much did a pretty good job eradicating that over the last 3 years. And so now I think it's going to be a really good spot for Joe here, not only to, like I said, deflect a lot of that pressure, help these guys along, keep everything loose, but also to manipulate that lineup on a daily basis to get advantage and take advantage of these players that you have. And I think this is why, like I said, he's a perfect fit. And, he's a great NL manager. He hasn't done it yet, but just the fact that he's, just so, involved in the, statistical analysis of these players, a lot of the sabermetrics, but also looking at it, and taking that knowledge and going with his gut, that's what makes him so strong of a manager. It's going to be really exciting to watch.
With the Cubs, 4th manager in 4 years. A lot of questions about that, but all those questions seem to be answered with Joe Madden. How much do you think this speeds up the timeline for the Cubs? Because it was what? Yeah, well, I've been hearing they're 2 years away for the last 4 years. Now that it seems like they should be 1 year away. Or now I'm hearing with Joe Madden, they're a wild card possibility. They have a wild card possibility this year. What do you see from the Cubs?
Well, whoever was telling you 2 years for the last however many years has been way off. There's all.
I think it was you.
Straight up. No, not me. I've been right on cue with everything that the entire organization has been preaching since day one. Where it's all about patience, and I pretty much preached 2016, 2017 before they have a team. That it's probably in a good position where they're ready to go, where they have the prospects. They've identified, some of the guys that are going to be able to be core players. Also, helping some other guys develop along the way. But also at that point, adding on free agents. And that's something where now they've finally gotten to the point where I said they've gotten rid of a lot of those big, ugly contracts. Alfonso Soriano just recently retired this year. But, obviously that was one of the deals that they were able to get rid of. And one they're going to hang on to is Edwin Jackson. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's going to be everyone's, big beef. And they've even admitted to to this point that was, a mistake to spend that much money. But again, he's a guy that's going to eat innings, and maybe where there's not so much pressure on him by adding, from what it sounds like right now, they're talking about, a lot of sources are saying they might sign Max Scherzer, might sign, John Lester. And so they're really out there. And now they finally, have everything set up to the point where they can start spending money. And I think that's what you're going to start seeing.
Well, thanks a lot for going too far in depth, because I was going to ask about Lester and Scherzer.
It's called a segue, sir. Welcome to the radio biz.
Yeah, thank you for. Hey, I was the one that got you into this biz. So.
Oh no, not into it. You helped me spread my name because you're a wonderful person like that.
I got you elbow deep in the radio business, but looking at there's a good pitching market out there. That's the concern right now. I mean, you got Jake Arrieta. Pitching takes a lot more time to develop. But who would you bring in, and who do you think the Ricketts are willing to shell out money for this offseason?
Well, absolutely. I mean, they're really right now finally looking to spend. Like I said, they got to the point where they got rid of a lot of the bad contracts. Those are basically all gone. They can move Starlin Castro if they feel like it. That's going to be one of the things where the Yankees, also the Mets, those are, two teams in here in Chicago between Castro and then with the Sox with Alexi Ramirez. Those are guys that are probably, on a lot of guys, a lot of teams' targets right now. And so we'll see what they do with that. But basically when it comes down to it, I think, the best fit for them, they're probably going to go after Scherzer. Right now they're talking, about 8 years, $200 million. And so I can see them, going for a guy like that because he's going to be able to eat them some innings. Still a little bit of a younger ball player, and that's one of the number one targets right now. Basically, the headliner of the starting pitching market. And then you also look at John Lester, and there's talk about possibly bringing him in too. Something where they'd be spending somewhere near $340 million just on two guys. Obviously stretched over the course of 6 years, but. Those are two pieces right there where that'll be able to give your ball club a chance to win a game. And that's pretty much what they're feeling is right now, Joe Madden there will be able to play with the lineup enough to the point where he's going to be able to manufacture runs for you. But when you have two headliners like that to go along with Jake Arrieta, that's really going to help him out. And I think here's one of the things that, I think is pretty much gone overlooked. Sure, they brought in Jake Arrieta. That was the guy that Chris Pasio. We'll see if Joe Madden decides to keep him on staff. But he's still under contract. That's a pitching coach there. And he's done a great job with bringing Jake Arrieta up and kind of helping him realize his potential. But the other thing that doesn't go seen here is the fact that they brought in Jacob Turner, Felix DeBrant, Danny Straley, James McDonald, Jason Grimm. These are all guys that were top on, a lot of organizations' prospects list that, just so happens to either that team gave up on them or, they happen to be, a victim of the numbers game in terms of, running out of options and having to be called up and sent back down, back and forth, to fill, to get random spot starts. And, whatever reason, whether it was a trade or claiming a guy off waivers, somehow, Theo Epstein and Jared Hoyer managed to get these guys in their hands. And I'm really interested to see what happens with some of these guys.
What do you think's more important? For a GM, hiring good coaches or hiring good scouts?
Well, I think that's really a trick question. Absolutely a catch-22 when you think about it, because a lot of it is identifying the right prospects to bring in. But another part is developing these guys. And that's why I think, it's a major strength that Joe Madden has proven year in and year out over the last 9 years here, that he's able to do that. He's able to help, like I said, deflect a lot of the attention, help these guys feel comfortable. But also, he's absorbed so much over the game, and he's such a great communicator. That's the biggest reason why they brought him in. That's the reason why Dale Swayam got fired, was, they had discussed with him, something that, a message that they were looking to get through, and he wasn't able to relay that message. And so that's why they had to make that change. And, when it comes down to Rick Renteria, they really liked him. They felt, we'll just really see, kind of how things work out. But I think probably, you know, if you have to go with one over the other, it's going to have to be coaching. Just